How are you?
Good. Okay. Perfect. How are you today?
I am great and just at work. Normally I have a nice background at home, but I'm at my workroom today.
Well, we're excited to talk to you today. I know I'm super excited to have you on today. So, just to give the people a little bit of background, so Sergio Hudson is a luxury women's ready-to-wear label designed and produced here in LA. You produced 7 collections. Is that correct so far? Okay.
Well, there are
And
more, but 7 that I'll claim.
of course, there are always more, right? Of course. So, Sergio, before we dive into everything, I always like to go back to the little Sergio and how you arrived to be this amazing celebrity Black designer that you are today, who is pushing the needle forward in terms of our culture. So I wanted to start back and go back to South Carolina. Um, your mom, Miss Sheldon, which she's your muse as she should be, respectfully so, because Miss Sheldon, Mama Sheldon is a vision. Okay. Um,
She
talk to
is
us
that.
about talk to us about growing up in a home with a mom who was a tailor and your sister who was a model. Talk to us about your childhood growing up and how that influenced you in your career.
Um, to say it influenced me, would be an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
It gave no other option.
Right.
At a very young age, I saw what style could do and what a stylish woman could bring to the world. Um,
Right.
the way that my mom walks around, it commands a certain amount of attention and it
Right.
commands a certain amount
Yes.
from other people. So I saw, and it's just because of her style and the way she carries herself. So
Mm-hmm.
I saw at a very young age what the magic of dressing could do. And I wanted to dress women. I wanted to make other women feel like how I felt like my mom felt growing up. Be that as it may, she might have been going through her own issues of insecurities, but you would have
Right.
never known being a child because, when it was time for her to get ready to go somewhere, it was an event. Like, she would plan outfits out for weeks. She would be like, okay, I got to find these shoes, go with this suit. And, it was together. So I thought everybody operated like that. That's how our world was set up.
Right.
And so, at a very young age, I started watching CNN Style with Elsa Clinch and all of those great people from the late 80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just fell in love with fashion when I found out making clothes for women was something you could do for a living and you could, like, really successful at it and people could look to you to influence the world. That's the only thing I ever wanted to do.
And you were designing gowns at the age of 10.
Yeah, I've been designing probably since about 4 or 5. I used to
Wow.
make like for my class. I used to make like all the paper doll clothes. That's a back in the day thing. I don't know if people still do paper dolls.
I remember those.
Like I would do the whole wardrobe. Like I would do their pajamas. I would do their brunching outfit. Then I would do their tennis outfit. Their evening gown. It was always so extra fabulous. But you know, it's,
And then I have to ask this because I'm also from the South and from Texas. Growing up in South Carolina, did that influence your creativity as well? Like growing up in the South with the church and the whole bit, did that have an influence on you as well?
it definitely did. Just because when you grow up in the South, in LA we always have events and stuff. But when you grow up in the South, you have an event every week with the Sunday morning service. So it's
Amen.
like I'm used to doing events because we did it every Sunday. Like my mom would plan on her outfit for every Sunday, and it was a Monday through Saturday thing. What she was gonna wear to church on Sunday morning because last week I killed them. This week I got to really slay them.
Oh,
So that was
yeah.
her motto.
Right.
Because
I,
at that point, like everybody at church was looking to my mom to see what she was gonna wear to church, and
mm,
how high Minister Hudson heels was gonna be this morning was a thing. So you know, it did influence me, and I that's why a lot of my clothes are really dressed up because I just envision women being dressed up. So it's not like that's the market I want to go for. It's just when I look at women, I'm like, why not put on a beaded suit to go
Why
to
not?
the ball?
With a little shoulder pad moment. Why not? Like,
Exactly.
why not? And so then you decide to attend fashion school in Atlanta. Why was it important for you? You already were trained. You already knew what you were doing. You've been, designing dresses since a young age.
I knew how to design. I didn't know how to sew because my mom told me she wasn't going to teach me. So I didn't know how to make patterns. I didn't know how to sew. She was like, I'll pay for you to school, but I can't teach you.
Okay.
So,
and so that was the moment when you decided to take it a step further and go and get fully trained.
Yes. I always wanted to go to design school. It was never another option for me. My entire life, I wanted to go to MIT. And I actually got accepted and was going. Then I changed my mind at the last minute. I didn't want to go that far away from home, so I just went in Atlanta. But yeah, it was always, I had to be trained, and I wanted to know. My mom is a tailor, but she kind of is self-taught, so it's certain things that I didn't know. Even if she wanted to teach me, I wanted to go to school to learn to be the right way. Because people I looked up to, like Gianni Versace, Jean-Francois Ferré, Yves Saint Laurent, those type of people, they actually made their garments, or they could make their garments, and I wanted to be that type of designer. Right. So I felt like it was important for me to be trained. So I definitely went to school.
And so then from there, let me ask you, so when you're in fashion school, what are your career goals at that point? Are you wanting to be a stylist or designer or both, or are you just wanting to focus on design? What are your career goals while you're in school in Atlanta?
Well, I don't think anybody's career goals are to be a stylist. I mean, I'm
a former stylist now, Sergio. I'm a former.
I don't know, I'm not trying to down styling, but I feel like styling is a transitional career. Like, okay, I want to be a stylist, but what do you want to do after being a stylist?
Right.
But
I agree.
Saying all that to be said, I always wanted to be, I wanted to be Jean-Francois Ferré. I wanted to be Gianni Versace. I wanted to be Yves Saint Laurent. I wanted to be Ralph Lauren, Donna Karan, Michael Kors. I wanted to be that. I wanted to have my own brand. And because it wasn't anybody out there that looked like me that was doing it, I felt it important for me to do that.
Right.
So even when I got out of school, I was offered all these internships in New York, and I turned them down because I felt like if I went to work for someone, that I would get caught up in working and making another brand famous and giving them all of my ideas, and I would be lost by the wayside, and I probably would never start my own, or if I did, it late. So that's why I made the decision. At that time, it was a tough decision. In hindsight, it's like, God, why did you make that decision? But, it was all God, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then your big break comes in 2013 after you're on the Bravo's fashion reality show, Style to Rock. What did this moment...
big break.
Say that again?
It was a great opportunity. Rhea and the whole team, they were great to me. But at the end of the day, I'll say this without going into too much detail. You have to take your own career by the reins, and you cannot expect people to do for you what you would do for yourself, or what you would even do for them if you were in their position. So it took a while to realize that it's not somebody else's responsibility to make Sergio Hudson a household name. I had to realize you have to take it by the reins, and you have to make it happen. And you have to find people that will come alongside you and believe in your vision and that will push your vision.
Right.
That's something that it's hard to come to terms with in the beginning.
And you were actually quarantined during that process. Is that right? When y'all were shooting?
Yeah. So what happened was we went up for casting, came to LA. They put you in a hotel for like 2 weeks. You can't talk to anybody. You can't leave the room. Only come out for casting. And then they didn't pick me. They sent me back home. I was devastated because it was the first time I actually agreed to do casting for one of these reality shows. Because I grew up worshiping fashion. I was one of these fashion elitists. Like, I'm not doing a reality show. I won't have no respect if I do that. And then at the end of the day, I was like, well, I'll do this one. And then I got turned down. So it was devastating. And you go through all those things. You're like, oh, maybe I'm not as talented as I thought I was. You know, all that. And then, to make a long story short, they called me back. And I came back on episode 3.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess they felt like they made a mistake.
Hello. Clearly. So you already knew what quarantine was like, being in that situation, if you will, right? You couldn't talk to anybody. You couldn't see anybody for 2 weeks. But do you feel like, let me ask you this, Sergio, do you feel like that experience, though, took your brand or took you to another height in your career, another level, if you will?
I definitely think it was a step to another level. It wasn't what took me there, but it was one of the steps that got me there. What really got me there was probably a year later, I signed with the PR showroom in LA, Style PR. And they started getting my clothes on celebrities. And it was like from there, that was what skyrocketed the fame of the brand.
Wow. And then you launched your first collection in 2014?
Yes, my first official collection.
And then earlier this year, you showed in New York Fashion Week. So I want to talk a little bit about that because I've attended Fashion Week over the years several times. And what I've always noticed about it was the lack of Black designers. There was always a Laquan Smith, you know, like a 1 or 2, but there were not an influx of Black designers that were showing at Fashion Week to the scale of, you know, the other white counterparts, a Ralph Lauren or what have you. Why was it important for you to show your collection this year in 2020? And walk us through that whole process of some of the challenges you faced in putting on your first show for Fashion Week and some of the things that you learned in the process.
Well, see, the thing about it is, this is such a loaded question, but the main reason there aren't a lot of us showing at New York Fashion Week is money. At the end of the day, and not money just like in general, but when I say money, I mean money and influence and connection. Because you can have a lot of money and still can't put on a show at New York Fashion Week.
Right.
But I think this year it was important. We dressed Michelle Obama 2 times in 3 months. We had dressed Beyonce. We had dressed Amal Clooney. Like, all of these people we really had, like, it was like in a short amount of time. And the fame of the brand had gotten so out there that people were emailing and RSVPing to an imaginary show that I wasn't having in September. And that's when I made the decision. I said, okay, maybe it's time for us to do a show.
Right.
So I reached out to Nate Hinton, my dear friend. He does PR for PR House and a lot of people. And I said, I think we need to do a show. And he was like, yeah, I think you do too. So, I mean, we started the process doing it then. I mean, it was, to be honest with you, it was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much work went into a show, but the key to doing a show is having a good team behind you. And Nate and his team are consummate professionals, and he is extremely connected, and he knows exactly what he's doing. So without him, I would have not been able to do the show. So it's just getting the right team behind you and building the right brand.
Right.
So because you have to have sponsors and people have to believe in what you're doing to sponsor you. So, yeah, it was a tough process, but it was very rewarding, and it was so important for me because, I don't know, I just felt this unction that it was time for me to do it. And now that I know now that we see what happened right after Fashion Week, I know why it was such an unction because, you know, we might not ever get the chance. And that might have been the last New York Fashion Week for a long time. So it's like, You know, it was. I felt like it was a spiritual thing. It was time. Everything lined up. Everything fell into place. So it was. It was a lifelong dream realized.
And Sergio, let me ask you this to piggyback on what you said about why a lot of Black designers don't show at Fashion Week is because of lack of influence and finances. What advice would you give to new designers that are wanting to take the leap? They're wanting to, maybe they've been out for a few years and they want to show, maybe if, you know, Fashion Week is open next year, if they have shows and they want to show, or they want to show in their town, or, you know, something small. What advice would you give them about taking the leap to
I would
show their
say,
collection?
I would say build your collection, meaning
Mm-hmm.
build your business up to a level, to the point that people are going to want to come to your show, and you don't have to convince them to come to your show.
Right.
That's the first thing. Second thing, I would say, don't be so focused on the show. A show for me was a strategic move to signal to the industry that my business was on a different level.
Right.
If you're not on that level or ready for that level, then you don't need to be doing the show. A lot of us don't know about the business of fashion because we've been so excluded from it. We don't really get the inside, you know it all type stuff because they keep it to themselves. And we're not meant to succeed in this industry. We're meant to be background players.
Right.
Just like the rest of the world. And it's I tell people all the time, the industry is not racist, it's more white supremacist, which is not, it's a, to me, I don't, this is not factual or whatever, but to me there's a difference between white supremacy and racism. White supremacy is, I'm better than you, so I'm going to do this and you do that. And that's what I think goes on in the fashion industry a lot. It's because it's not like they despise Black people. They love Black people. They want you to be around. They want you to entertain them. They want you to be the life of the party. They want you to find the urban clothes because they can't really do that without getting called out for gentrifying. You know,
Right.
to design the crazy avant-garde stuff so they can be like, oh, look at that. But when it comes down to like actually making clothes like Ralph Lauren, like a Kors that's going to sell and that's going to make your brand a major brand, hold up, you know, that's not for you. Like, we don't need to be a mega player in this industry because, you know, if Ralph Lauren say this or that, then it got to happen. Imagine if somebody Black had the amount of power that Ralph Lauren has, it would be so many more of us in this industry. It's breaking down those systematic barriers in this industry. And the way that young designers can help with that is make sure your craft is on par or better than your counterparts. Make sure, you know, you have an original voice that's yours and you're bringing something to the industry. You know, and I don't believe in this whole thing like, oh, you have to be different than you've ever seen. But you have to be different from everything you're seeing at the moment.
Right.
So I have to bring something that's not there. We don't need another Pierre Moss. We don't need another Sergio Hudson. We don't need another Romeo Hunt. We don't need another Laquan Smith. We need a new whoever. We need to show that there are more than just, there's more than one or two sides to Black design. So, yeah, I know that's
No, that was good. And I have some more questions about that. We'll get into that. So you've dressed countless amazing women, like you said, Michelle Obama, Beyonce several times, Rihanna, Queen Latifah, Janelle Monáe, Demi Lovato, Michelle Obama in that purple. Oh, are you here, Sergio? Okay. Michelle Obama in that purple power pantsuit on her tour. Bomb, amazing. What was that moment like for you? For Michelle Obama, forever First Lady, to be in your pieces. What was that moment like for you?
Wow. It was, you know what's crazy? Sometimes it's not that, like, I'm not trying to say like I'm so much better than everybody, but like I dress a lot of celebrities and I deal with a lot of celebrity stylists on a daily basis. Like as we sit here now, I'm sewing something for a celebrity. So it's like,
what celebrity? Tell us.
No, I can't. but the crazy thing is I'm actually sewing because I can't bring in my sewers right now. So I'm doing what I can do personally. This pandemic has stuff going crazy, but I'm thankful that I can actually do some work. But so a lot of times you get jaded, or you get like, oh, we dressed Beyonce again. It's like, okay, great. And it was kind of like that in the moment when I sent the suit off, and I knew she was going to wear it because it was custom made, and we had like it was agreed upon. This is the look for this event. When I actually saw it, it was like, oh wow, she looks great. And then I laid back and I was like, dress Michelle Obama. Like, this is crazy.
I had chills.
I was trying to get to Michelle Obama when I first started out. And when they kept it hid who was even styling her, and you couldn't give them anything because it's against the law to give the president or the first lady anything, a gift. They have to pay for it. So it was very hard to get to them at that time, especially being unknown. So to be able to dress her, and not just dress her, but make her look amazing was,
different.
And what we did was something that she had never did before.
Right.
Which was, even with that though, the bad part about that, I feel like they use those pictures so much, but a lot of people still don't know that we made that suit.
What?
Like we got featured in Vogue, Bazaar, all of those magazines showed that picture, and they just said, Michelle Obama wears a beautiful purple suit. They didn't even do the research to find out who had made it,
Wow.
And we had a press release that went out, which was crazy, but that's another long story. Like I said, I feel like if Donna Karan or Ralph Lauren had made that suit, they would have known.
Yes. And they would have printed it, who the designer was. Right.
Exactly. So, but we're not expected to make clothing like that. Like, we're not expected to make a 4-ply silk crepe suit tailored to a woman's body, with the brass bit custom made to go with. Like, it was just like we weren't expecting to make something that luxurious. So, and that's why I do it, because I don't want to be expected. But it was amazing, just to be able to know she was pleased with what we had made. It was an awesome moment.
Right. And then you did Demi Lovato this year for the Super Bowl in that white tuxedo jumpsuit. I love that. And then you recently dressed Amanda, who hosted the BET Awards, in one of your pieces from your collection this year in a Golden May number. Talk to us about, you just spoke about like the press aspect of it. So I know that designers and stylists work together to get a look on a client, right? And to get it on the carpet. But also, how does the press and the PR play a role in taking it to another level, like you said, to be printed in the write-ups, in the press, in the media? How does your job as a designer, how do you work with media or press to get your pieces featured as they should be in a Vogue or in a Harper's Bazaar, etc.?
Well, that's where your PR comes in. They have to have, that's why I would tell any new designer as well, you have to, if you invest in anything, you should invest in PR first. Just because, like after I do Michelle Obama, you have to have somebody with access to the Vogue, to the Harper's Bazaar, to even send the email saying, this is a Sergio Hudson suit.
Right.
It's made this, it's made that. So whenever we dress somebody, there's a press release that goes out the day after, or sometimes the day of, depending on how big it is. So the press release goes out to pretty much every major fashion blog, magazine, website, and that's how they get the information. If you don't have that, sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle.
Right. And then also, Sergio, let me ask you about representation, because you have an agent that you work with, right, as well. When do designers need to seek out representation? Or is that something they don't need to worry about when they're starting out? Or when should they say, okay, my brand is at a place now where I need to get a little bit more assistance I need a PR team, I need agent to push my brand and my label out to the masses? When is it time?
It's time when you know you've developed your craft enough. You know your pieces are made well. You know you have an aesthetic. That's one of the first things you do need to do is seek out representation.
Right.
I was lucky early on. I got representation, like I told you, from a PR showroom. Style PR, but they are more of a PR showroom. So like the
Right.
stylists come in and they pull from them. They do press releases and all that stuff. But now I'm signed with an actual PR like agency. The it's owned by a black man, and you know they handle everything like
Right.
PR as far as that goes. But that's crucial. You cannot be a brand without having that. Like, of course, you know, it's other ways around. I would say, like, when you're starting out and you have good clothes, a lot of these stylists, they look for, like, you can tag them to your stuff. Like, look at what I have. You know, you can find emails on their sites. Like, send them a lookbook. They love to discover new talent. Everybody's ego is big in the fashion industry. So if they can discover somebody new and fresh and their client wears it first, it's always a plus for them. And I got so many people that say they use me first. It's so funny.
And let me ask you while we're on this subject, Sergio. So what about influencers? Do you find that works for you or works for new designers, up-and-coming designers, to partner with influencers to get their brands out in maybe a smaller demographic?
What was that again? Say that again.
Okay, yeah. I was saying, what are your thoughts on influencers? Do you think that, let's say an up-and-coming designer, they're not where you are yet, but they're small, they have a brand and it's booming and it's doing good in their town or their city. Do you think that they should partner with an influencer to maybe get the buzz out about their collection or their brand, if they're not able to get like a PR at that point?
I think it all depends on what you are trying to sell. If you're trying to sell something on a more accessible price point, it makes sense. But like what I do, like making luxury clothing, it really doesn't make sense for me to give clothes to an influencer because it's like those influencers don't really have the power to drive the luxury market. So you have to, you know what you're doing. To me, it's easier to deal with the celebrities because they'll give the clothes back.
Right.
It's just, the influencers, they want to keep stuff because they're like, I'm doing this for you. And I'm like, but I gave J-Lo clothes and she gave them back. Who are you? So I don't really deal with influencers that much. So I might be the wrong person to ask.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask what your thoughts were.
It's a lot easier to deal with the celebrity stylists because they're used to giving stuff back. If you don't have the money to just keep gifting people, it's the easier route to go.
Okay. And then, Sergio, let's shift a minute and talk about the current moment that we're in. I know you said you were sewing because of COVID, because, you have to do your own, your team is probably not there to do it. It's safe to say that COVID-19 has not spared any industry. Fashion is no exception.
Especially fashion.
What are some specific tactics and strategies that you put in place to ensure that your business continues to boom and be successful?
Well, to be honest with you, if I wasn't the type of designer that could do everything, my business would have tanked. I would have lost everything. To be honest with you, we did this amazing show at New York Fashion Week. We had buying appointments. This was supposed to be our season to break out. Like, we had, right after the show, we got featured on Moda Operandi. Like, we were in talks with Net-a-Porter, Bergdorf Goodman, pretty much every major retailer, and all the great boutiques in the United States and outside of the United States to buy. And everything got canceled because of COVID. So I had to regroup, and now we are actually working on a more accessible collection of more casual pieces that you can kind of wear around the house. I haven't decided what we're going to call it yet. I think I'm going to continue it even when we pick back up. But we're also working on a home collection.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. So near the end of July, early August, the home collection will be released. We're starting with throw pillows and candles, and I'm really excited about it. I always wanted to do home, and the opportunity presented itself because of COVID, and I'm like, okay, let's do it now.
Look at God. That's a blessing. I'm excited about that. That's going to be nice.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do things that people want to invest in now. Everybody's, redoing their home or freshening up their home. And, I completely redid mine, of course. But
what did you do to it, Sergio?
I do the most, but I use the excuse that I have to shoot my home collection in my home. So now it's like completely redone and ready for the shoot. But I just love interiors, and I love to design interiors as well. It's like a hobby of mine. So now I'm turning one of my hobbies into a business.
But I love how I feel like we're all like people. If they're, on it, they're using this time to pivot to, not shift away from your, your normal and your business, but to add to it, other things that you're good at. So I love that you're coming out with home. I'm sure Michelle's going to have some stuff in her house, I'm sure, from you. So let me ask you this while we're on the topic. What advice would you give, again, to designers looking to launch in the midst of a pandemic? They're wanting to launch their collection right now. What advice would you give them?
Run. But
Hey, you said run. Don't run.
No. I would say you have to figure out what people want right now, and you have to start there. Right. Like let's say like you can't come out with the evening wear collection right now. Like it's just not gonna happen. Right. Nobody wants that. Nobody has evening events going on. Right. It's not happening. So you have to really think, okay, what do people need now? And what can I do that's gonna be true to me and not just be something to make some money? And I feel like when people do businesses and fashion just to make money, they never last. There has to be some passion behind it.
Right. That's a word. Recently, you were featured on Beyonce's list of Black-owned businesses curated by Zarina, her stylist. What does a mention, I know we've talked about it a little bit in the midst of our interview, but what does a mention like being on this list that Beyonce created do for your brand, especially during this time of being in a pandemic where some people may not have been familiar and now they're like, oh, okay, I need to shop. People are wanting to shop more Black-owned businesses now. What does that do for your business at this time?
I mean, it means a lot. Just first of all, the affection that I have for B and for Zarina is unparalleled. Not just, and I have to stress, it's not just Beyonce. It's her stylist Zarina that are unapologetically supportive of my brand. Yes. Like, just full disclosure, like when I first started working with them, she literally bought my entire collection.
Wow. But say that again, Sergio. Bought.
Yes. B bought my entire collection because Zarina told her to. You know what I mean? So these, I think people need to understand that this woman and her team have been doing this for years quietly. Like they have, like if you really go through the history of Beyonce, especially since she's been working with Zarina, she's been wearing Black designers for years now. They just never publicized like, oh, this is a Black designer. But if you go through the list, out of 10 times, 7 of those are going to be Black designers. And that's something that I think people kind of don't realize. So this is not anything new for them. So it means a lot. The problem comes in when you are at the price point that I'm at. Because I feel it's still hard for our people to understand that there are people that look like us that are equivalent to a Gucci or equivalent to a Louis Vuitton, like
Right.
that you can buy Black designer instead of buying Gucci.
Right.
And it means just as much. So it's it doesn't translate as far as sales go for me, just because I don't have that accessible price point that a lot of other Black designers have. Because I'm trying to build something a little different.
Right.
So,
And then how? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
How do we educate then the people
you
on?
have to keep letting people know. You know, I mean, just think about like this. I'll give you an example. The Swarovski crystal suit that Beyonce wore from us. It was a white suit with Swarovski crystals sewn all over it. That suit is made of the most luxurious fabric. It's lined with silk. Each one of those stones are hand sewn to the jacket and the shirt. It's a very luxurious item. And it costs a pretty penny. Like just the jacket, I don't remember the exact price, but it's $3,000 something. The skirt is like $600. But you don't realize like each one of those stones can cost you like between $8 to $20, and you got like a lot of them on that jacket, and plus you have to throw them on there. So it's a luxurious item. Now, had that jacket and skirt been whoever, Balmain, nobody would question the price of that. But because it was me, when it got so much press, and you know, we sold quite a bit of them, but we didn't sell as near as much as we could have, because even like when Fashion Bomb posted it, like you could look under the comments and they'll be like, "Oh, it's too expensive. Why does it cost so much?" You know, it was all those type of comments, and people would say, "Well, I support Black designers," and they're like, and I remember my co-creative, he told me yesterday, he was saying, somebody said on one of the posts, like, well, if Black designers would make, and you know, it's just weird. It's like, oh, so we can't make luxury clothing.
Right. Okay, there you go.
It's a battle. To be honest with you, most of my clientele is white. Just being honest. Because Black people, we haven't educated ourselves, or we don't, to support someone that would make something equivalent to what you would buy at Gucci.
Right.
But
so I guess it's a conversation. It's a conversation we have to continue to have, you know, to educate ourselves on why we don't want to support our own designers, but we'll support, you know, the others. And speaking of,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sergio. What were you gonna say?
Because it's a status symbol. If I'm walking around with a Gucci belt, everybody knows it's a Gucci belt. But if you buy a Sergio Hudson belt, they might not say, "Oh, who is that?" And you have to explain to them. But Gucci is automatic. Like, we know this is a Gucci belt.
Right.
And so it's but it's you know, it's just a trickle down effect. We don't have the money to really make ourselves that well known as Gucci to trickle down to where people would want to aspire to buy your clothing. Right. So it's a long journey to get there, but we're going.
And we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. How are you using your platform? Because we're also in the midst of another pandemic, obviously, a systemic racism pandemic that we're going through as well as COVID. How are you using your platform and influence to bring awareness to the lack of diversity and inclusion in the fashion industry?
You know, just opening my mouth at this point. It's certain, like, I've always been taught coming up in the industry, keep your mouth shut, keep your head down. When you get in, then you shake things up. But until you're in, keep your mouth shut. You don't want them to label you as the complaining Black designer, you know. So for years, I haven't said, you know, the things that I thought or things that have happened to me or, you know, how I've been treated. You just kind of have to keep your mouth shut. But now I'm opening up. Like 3 months ago, I would have never told you half of the stuff I told you on the live.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different time. So I think it's our responsibility now to open our mouths.
Right.
And let people know what goes on behind the scenes in this industry. Because I feel like if consumers know what goes on, then they can change how they react. They'll understand why it's important for you to buy a Sergio Hudson belt as opposed to a Gucci belt.
Right.
Or to buy a Sergio Hudson belt. How about this? You buy one Gucci belt, buy one Sergio Hudson belt instead of buying two Gucci belts. Like, nobody, we're not asking, and that's what I feel like a lot of people don't understand. We're not asking you to stop buying other brands. We're asking you to just add us into your rotation. Make us worthy enough to be in your closet.
Right. That's it. Full stop. And also because our dollars have gone towards their brands and their businesses and companies for, you know, for years. So also, let me ask you this, Sergio. Do you feel that as a Black designer, as a successful Black designer, it's your responsibility to reach back to help the up and coming designers to, you know, get the information they need, the resources they need to succeed and be successful as yourself? Because a lot of them, they didn't have anybody to mentor them. But now we have people like you.
It's definitely my responsibility. I mentor a number of designers, and I'm the type of designer, you know, I'm like, you want to make belts? Let me tell you where to go to get your belts made. Let me tell you how. Like, everybody that I talk to, I give my information freely because I feel like it's a big thing in the industry. You don't give away your contacts. You don't tell people who does this or that. But I'm just not like that. It's like, you can't do what I do. I can't do what you do. Let's all just do it together and make it happen.
Right. I love that. And I just want to take a moment to say, for a Black man from South Carolina to make it as far as you've made it, what are you most grateful for at this point in your journey?
I'm grateful that I can get up every day and live the dream that I've dreamed my entire life. You know, every day the dream isn't good or it isn't pleasant, but I can get up every day and I can say there are millions of people that want to do what you do. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of designers that have tried to do what you are doing and couldn't get it done. So you bear the weight of those people that have tried to make it happen for you. Because if it happens for me, it can happen for somebody after me. Period. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to live my dream, for sure.
I love that. And then, Sergio, before I let you go, tell us when we can buy the home goods, the candles, stuff for the house. We want to buy it.
Well, we will be releasing the home collection in early August, and it's on SergioHudson.com, and it'll be up. Just keep your eyes on my Instagram. We'll be promoting. We're going to send out some great teasers and gift boxes. Hopefully, some of our celebrity friends will post about it, so you'll know about it before it happens.
Well, we'll be waiting. Sergio, thank you for pushing the culture forward. Thank you for being you and having the energy that you have. And we will continue to support you and follow your journey. Mama
Thank you for supporting.
Of course. And Mama did good. Tell Mama Sheldon she did good. She did good with you.
Let her know.
Thank you so much, Sergio.
All right. You have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Where's the buzz?
Oh,
Where is the buzz? You said was mine.